might expect that any show post-90s might follow the Friends framework. Beautiful, hot, stylish young woman enters this group's life, disrupts their world, and becomes the central love interest. How I Met Your Mother does follow this formula in many ways. Ted is our Ross, he dreams of real love, and he falls madly in love with Robin, who we can therefore assume is our Rachel. The Big Bang Theory does the same thing with Penny and Leonard. They've got themselves into somewhat of a rut. Penny comes in and disrupts their reality. However, unlike Friends and The Big Bang, Robin is not the style standout of the show. They had every opportunity to make Robin a style icon like Rachel Green. No, in fact, the style standout of How I Met Your Mother is Lily. My name is Ellie-Jean. I help women to dress for their unique type of beauty, and I also love to explore costumes from your favourite films, shows, and celebrities. Robin takes a lot longer to find her style DNA. She's not exactly dressed badly, but she's not dressed consistently. She goes from quirky to preppy to beachy to sexy. Every episode there's a completely different angle on Robin's personal style. It's always in flux, and this somewhat makes sense. She wasn't brought up as a girly girl. We know that she was raised almost like a son because her father wanted a son. She then rebelled and became a Canadian pop star, and we know that she's following trends of the times because the 80s only came to Canada in the 90s, according to HIMYM, which is what I call it in my head. So if that comes out of my mouth, HIMYM is How I Met Your Mother. By the time she enters into the group, she has lofty dreams, lofty aspirations, but she hasn't really found herself yet, and she doesn't know what she wants out of life. She knows what she doesn't want right now, but that's pretty much as far as she's got. Through this time, we see looks like a very Lorelai Gilmore-esque pink t-shirt layered over a long top and jeans. It's very quirky, very fun, quite immature for her. It's a really unusual look in Robin's repertoire. We see her come back from a trip to Argentina, and she has completely adopted the styles that she saw there. Very bohemian, very beachy. She wears a lot of kind of Y2K fashions, little camisoles, a little bit like this one that I'm obsessed with right now. But yeah, you see her in a lot of camisoles, kind of low-rise jeans, sexy tops, like one of my favourite Robin outfits, which is so not Robin, it's so me, but she does look good in it. She wears this little lacy camisole with a mini skirt. I'm pretty sure it's yellow, or something in the look is yellow, and she looks fantastic, but it's not really her. It just looks kind of sexy and cute, but it doesn't really fit with our image of Robin because she doesn't really know herself yet. There's also an argument here, of course, that the costume designers themselves are just following trends and not really thinking about the design of Robin's character. I think maybe themselves hadn't quite decided on how they were going to portray her. So there is that element kind of feeding into this, but obviously I can't know what was going on in the costume designer's head. All I can talk about is the effect that it has on the show. Robin's style does begin to reflect her personality as what she wants out of life becomes more concrete. We know that she's a very aspirational, ambitious journalist. She doesn't particularly like silly, girly things, but she does quite like feeling sexy and womanly in her own way. She's also very casual and chill and down to earth, kind of sporty in a sense, and so from this, I would say her style roots are mountain, fire, and stone. Things like this outfit from later on in the show where she's wearing a blazer. She's got this jumpsuit on which has a drawstring. Now, don't get me wrong, this outfit reads so 2010s to me. It's a little bit dated, but you can see her style roots coming through here. Like those drawstring trousers is quite a stone detail because it's a little bit of casual in an otherwise smart outfit. She's got the blazer, which is very formal and put together. The quite deep, strong, bold colours is quite a mountain element as well. And there's a little bit of silkiness to the jumpsuit, which is quite fire. There's something, it shows off her figure. It's not a pure like masculine outfit. It has that element of sensuality to it. So what are Robin's, Cobie Smulders' actual best lines? She has a wide, long, straight body type, which means she has width in her upper body and shoulders. She has a long vertical line. She is tall and looks tall, and she has straight, sharp lines in her silhouette. She doesn't have a lot of softness and curviness. She's more sharp and structured in the way her frame is built. And so she suits similar lines, things like structure to her outfits, without being too tight and restrictive because of the width in her frame, so she needs openness somewhere in a look, and long lines suit her best rather than short ones. Additionally, she has dramatic, classic, and romantic essences, with dramatic being her dominant essence. This means she has a sharp, powerful, almost dangerous look. That touch of romantic gives her a femme fatale feel. There is this photo of Robin where she looks like she could kill you and would enjoy it. She looks incredibly sexy here in a Megan Fox kind of way. She also has classic. Her features are pretty well proportioned. She feels quite timeless. Her eyes are evenly spaced. She has a moderate width to her jawline. So even though she has a lot of sharpness in her bone structure, she has something pulling her back to the moderate. The absolute perfect example of these essences playing a role in her looks is the suit and corset look. The suit details the sharp tailoring of the blazer, of the trousers. There's a subtle pinstripe in the tailoring, which all honors her dramatic essence. It feels super confident and powerful, and it doesn't feel particularly masculine against her as it might someone with softer, more yin features, where it would kind of overpower them as they don't meet the sharpness of the outfit, whereas Robin does, so it just feels incredibly womanly against her. This is something I think people often get wrong with body typing. They think they have to go the other way to even out their features. Actually, it doesn't work like that. Lean into the things that make you unique and you will look even more stunning and beautiful. The corset is obviously a romantic detail. It's showing off some of her figure, allowing a little bit of skin. There are those allusions to kind of lingerie and nightwear, as well as hyper femininity in the past in all these occasions where corsets have kind of historically been used, and all of that is threaded into this outfit through that one item. At the same time, none of this is too extreme, and that's the classic essence coming into play. The pinstripe is subtle, it's not bold and high contrast, and that's the classic coming in to tame it down. There aren't lots of different colours going on, everything's in black, so it feels quite plain and quite simple. There aren't a million layers, it's just the corset and the blazer and the suit trousers. There isn't then, you know, an oversized dramatic coat on top and really bold makeup. Her makeup is quite minimal with just a little bit of smokiness, and that classic element keeps everything under control and in line with her essence blend. I have talked about Robin's wedding dress, and I'll mention it again here. I think there are problems with the wedding dress. I think the width is accommodated in the neckline, but otherwise the way the fabric is pulled tight against her frame makes her feel restricted rather than feeling at home and effortless. It feels extreme against her, which is how you know that it doesn't quite fit with her. Does she look beautiful? Yes, but I think it doesn't quite emphasize her beauty. I also feel that the glittery waistband takes away from the dress. It cuts it into two and it breaks that vertical line, and that makes it feel even less harmonious because it doesn't honor the whoosh of Robin's figure. Even though she has width in her frame, she doesn't have natural in her essences, so also anything messy, too overflowing, too oversized. Like, I think about a lot of those Argentina looks where her hair is slightly frizzy and big and it just doesn't feel quite right against her, and that again almost furthers the story in this moment because this isn't the real Robin, and that comes across. And when she's back in her more sleek looks, there's like a little bit of relief in our mind as it feels more harmonious with her features. It's like, that looks right, that feels right. Conversely, Lily has a strong style personality from the get-go, and this again makes sense. I think in the original part of the series, the framing is that Lily is going to be the quirky best friend. That's kind of what we expect from a rom-com, and a sitcom is kind of like an extended rom-com in many ways. And often the kind of secondary female character is dressed in clothes which are less exciting and less interesting. Look at Friends, for instance. Courtney Cox as Monica has some incredible outfits. However, there's no denying that they are less impactful, less trendy, less cool, less sexy, less feminine than Rachel's, because they were really pitching Jen and Rachel Green as the standout. Not necessarily immediately, but certainly they quickly clock on to the fact that everyone wants to be Rachel, and they really prioritize her outfits and they make it everything. Whereas Monica is given ever so slightly more frumpy looks, and Rachel comments on that. You know, she calls her shoes Amish or something. She's trying to imply that they're not trendy, they're too classic, too traditional, out of touch, and that's kind of what we're supposed to think about Monica a little bit. Even though she's classic and she often looks amazing, she's not supposed to be the it girl like Rachel is, and you might expect How I Met Your Mother to go the same way, but it doesn't. Lily is an artist. She loves to paint, she's very creative, and we see this reflected in her style. She has a lot of quirky patterns and fun details. We know she loves clothes and boots. She has a lot of credit card debt. I dread to think how much that actually was. She had all her credit cards out on the table. That horrifies me. That gives me a deep sense of dread for her. But yeah, she has a lot of credit card debt from buying clothes, so it makes sense that she would then have a wardrobe that reflects this obsession with buying clothes. She's also a little bit older than Robin. She's had time to figure out who she is, what she wants, and what she wants to look like, so it makes sense that her style is pretty good from day one. Lily's style roots are earth, sun, and mushroom. I did play with a few different things for her style root. I thought, does she have a little bit of fire? And that certainly comes out occasionally, like for example in this leopard print dress that she wears to the prom, but I don't think it's one of the guiding principles of her style. It's not in every look that she wears. Earth reflects Lily's down-to-earth personality. I wouldn't say she's outdoorsy, but she is empathetic, and she's not overly ambitious. She doesn't particularly care about success being like the top of her priorities, and that's often common in someone with an earth style root. It's just like that groundedness. They're happy with the here and the now, and this ultimately is what Lily comes back to. Even when she has her moments of doubt, this solidifies itself as one of her values. Sun, like I say, she's creative, she's fun, and this comes out in fun, unusual layering. And even though her colour combos are pretty muted and neutral and earthy, the details otherwise lean quite avant-garde and quite creative. And lastly, mushroom. Lily is really the wise one of the group, and that doesn't mean she never makes mistakes, but she is thoughtful. She is quite meticulous in how she views the world. She's quite tidy and put together. She's kind of keeping everyone in check as well. And that all rings true with the mushroom root to me, and we also see this reflected in her style. A lot of her looks are quite muted, and there is this undercurrent of timelessness, even though she likes to play. In terms of her features, she has natural, gamine, and ingenue essences. The gamine and the ingenue, I think, are quite obvious in Alyson Hannigan. The gamine especially, she has a lot of quirkiness, a lot of pixie-like features. She's actually kind of the epitome of what I think of as quite gamine-ish. She feels really at home in those playful styles. They feel right against her, and it feels right that she'd play a comedic character. And this is because she has some sharpness in her jawline. She has quite petite features. She has thin almond lips. She has sharp brows and high cheekbones, and all of these elements contribute to her gamine essence. She also has some ingenue. For example, she has rounded, soft cheeks, a little bit like mine, and that gives her that sweet feeling. And lastly, she has natural. Now, originally I thought, does Alyson have some classic? But when you put her in simple, neater styles, she feels more boring, whereas with more mess, she feels more at home. So I took another look at her facial features, and I realised she does have some bluntness there. She has quite a blunt nose, it has some breadth to it, she has an elongated, slightly blunt chin, and there's a certain maturity to her appearance, which is common in naturals. She's not your typical gamine who feels very young and very, very youthful. There is something a little bit more mature to her look. And in terms of her body matrix type, she has the medium straight body type. So at first glance, I thought she might be narrow, but actually she does have some structure to her shoulders. There is a touch of width there, and that's why she looks best in some deconstruction to her outfits in conjunction with her natural essence, of course. She has a moderate length. Again, originally I thought petite, and I think what makes you think that is because of the gamine in her facial features. If you look at her next to Buffy as Willow, she feels much taller. She almost looks long in certain moments, and I don't think it's an analysis of her body type which makes you think short. I think it's just an assumption based on her gamine features. When you actually look at her best lines, she's slightly overwhelmed in short ones, and she feels more moderate. She almost feels like a classic, but with a little bit more bluntness and sharpness to her bones, which I think like the overall consensus is putting her as flamboyant, gamine, and kibby, but there are also arguments for soft natural, and I think it's because she has that little extra bluntness in her bone structure and that more moderate length. But lastly, she does have straight lines. She feels really effortless in an obscured waist. It doesn't feel like it's fighting against her in any way. She feels her most modern and cool in geometric shapes and geometric patterns. She looks fabulous with a little bit of extra structure to her outfits, and looks slightly more frumpy in softer styles with a defined waist. In How I Met Your Mother, some of my favourite Lily looks include her red dress when they go to Ted's architecture ball. Pretty sure that's what they're doing anyway. This is a very gamine outfit. And it looks fantastic, and there are a couple of accommodations for her features. So it's actually a moderate length, it's on the knee, it's not a short skirt, and that feels like quite a fun choice for the formality of the event she's in. She has a more open neckline to honour the touch of width in her shoulders, and also a flared skirt, which does the same thing. The fabric itself is quite structured, and that red just looks amazing with her autumn colours. Another one I love is this outfit where she's got a vest with a cropped sweater top on top, and this pattern is so natural and earthy. It's got kind of tribal influences. Those frilly sleeves are slightly ingenue, slightly gaminish, they feel quite youthful. The mini skirt is quite casual, there's a touch of earthiness there, the butterfly necklace is very ingenue again, and she's got some tights to balance out the shortness of the mini skirt as well and make it more appropriate for her moderate vertical line. My other favourite look from How I Met Your Mother is she wears this cape coat with a geometric pattern. That geometric pattern is quite gaminish, it also suits her straight lines as well as her sunstyle route. This is a maternity look for her and I think it's fab. The texture of the coat is a little bit rough, so that one is her natural essence. It feels a little bit rugged and that makes it feel even more cool against her rather than classic. The bag is quite slouchy and that warm orange again complements her autumn palette and it makes the red feel less of a harsh contrasted choice. I just love this look, I think it's great. I love that Lily is not pushed aside in How I Met Your Mother. They could really have leaned into Lily as a wife, she's a mother, and allowed her style to become more boring as a result, and they don't. They could have let her be a side character just because she's in a healthy relationship, and actually they fully explore the depth of the complications of being in a long-term relationship, which is a really hard thing for stories to do because usually it's kind of like, oh, they're happy and the stakes seem much lower, but they show the stakes are actually really high. Like the story of Marshall wanting to become a judge and does he tell Lily? Does he keep it a secret? These elements are huge in the foundations of their relationship and it affects the rest of their life and they deal with those issues in such an interesting way. I feel like Friends almost drops Monica and Chandler's story once they're married. It's certainly less of a focus and they move on to exploring Phoebe's love story and Rachel and Ross's baby and only really come back to Monica and Chandler when they're trying to have babies, and it's like their story is kind of done, whereas that's never the case for Lily and Marshall because they get married so early on and they get engaged so early on, and that's one of the things I really love about this show. I think it's my favourite sitcom. It's not the one I watch the most, but when I watch it, it's a very powerful, meaningful thing to watch. It's not just a good laugh. And prioritising her outfits, keeping her cool, keeping her stylish is such an important part of highlighting Lily's importance as a character, even though her story is so different from Robin's and different from the ones we often see in sitcoms and on TV. If you've enjoyed this video, I think you'll break down this video of Alex Dunphy's makeover in Modern Family, another sitcom that I love. I feel like I'm becoming the sitcom queen. I feel all of my most popular TikToks and things are from sitcoms. So I love fashion in sitcoms. I think it's really interesting because you really see character growth over time. If you want to know your body type, essence, colour season, any of the things I've talked about in this video, make sure to check out the link below for my features analysis handbook. And if you want to know your style roots, the underlying principles of your personal style, tastes and your personality, you should check out the free quiz in the link below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.